Hey YouTubers, and welcome back to another open question. And today we're talking about something that's really divisive amongst the anime community. I got two other YouTubers here who have completely different opinions to that of my own. First of all, you've seen in my channel a whole lot. Deefer, you want to say hi?
What's up?
And next we have a very special guest. We have Rhymestyle himself.
I hate Hunter x Hunter Battle All-Stars. just to add a context in there, I've been trying to beat this one quest for the last 3 hours now.
It's impossible.
It's impossible.
I can't even get out the first floor, so.
He's been literally going hard since I got on the phone with him, even before that, so it's definitely an issue right now. But anyway, guys, today we're going to be talking about the ending of Death Note. And I know a lot of people probably have their own opinions on like how that show ended, whether it was good or bad or not. And I think all three of us have completely different perspectives on our takes on it. So before I let them talk, I'm just going to say, I really am very conflicted by the ending. Honestly, I feel like it wasn't really worth it. I feel like it was in episode 34 or 35, somewhere around that, when Nell and Light had actually gotten and decided that they were going to meet this last final confrontation. They're sitting there talking to all the detectives, and Light actually takes his time to sit around and go, look, if Nier wins, then Kira is not justice. He is a criminal. But if Kira wins, Kira is justice. They took the time to tell the audience this, and then at the very end, spoilers, if you haven't really watched it and haven't gotten that already, definitely spoilers in this discussion. But when he goes in and they actually let Nier win, I feel like that takes away a whole lot of the context of what the show is actually trying to do. It was trying to build up this really dramatic series in which we were supposed to think, okay, Kira is evil, but is he really that evil? Can we not empathize with him at all and what he's trying to do? What world is he trying to create? I mean, throughout the entire series, we see all the other detectives sitting there going, well, I know he's a bad guy, but I somewhat agree with what he's doing. I'm very conflicted. And he's like, no, it's not fair. Like, it's not like, obviously, we all kind of connect with what he's doing. I mean, we all want to see the bad guy die. And by the show literally solving that question that it posed a couple episodes for us, that well, Kira lost, so he must not be justice, he must be evil, really takes the dramatic portions of the show and really makes it melodramatic to me, where it's no longer good versus good or bad versus bad. It's plain and simple good versus evil. And that is the very definition of melodrama. But I'm just going to throw it over. Rhymestyle, you want to tell us what you think about it?
Actually, it's funny. It's a good intro, really good intro. But the one thing I don't agree with is Light being the good guy. Because what this show actually is about, from at least how I perceived it, was we watched the entire series from a perspective of the bad guy. Because even though he is killing the bad guys, he himself is basically putting himself on the same level. Therefore, we're just watching this bad guy essentially unfold what is playing the entire time. And then you got the L team, who's actually the good team. And even the good team takes an L, no pun intended, and they sort of lose, but they end up winning the war. So it's not about Kira being justice. Kira's been a bad guy from the start. He's just a sadistic, crazy teenager, or how old is he? Like, what, 18? I guess he's technically a teenager. He is evil from the start, and when he dies, he's still evil. He's just very sadistic, if that makes sense.
Well, I think that L was an interesting character when you want to jump back there, because his dynamic with Light was a little bit different than how things were with Nier and Light towards the end of the show. I think that just basically speaking about the ending of the show, like I kind of said, like off screen, they kind of made it to where basically Light did everything he could do, and he thought of every possible scenario, but he still kind of lost. Where with the same thing happening basically with the situation with L earlier in the series, he did the same thing. He was like, oh, if Kira keeps killing while I'm in here, then it's not me. So like he basically wiped his own mind of this shit and still found a way to beat L. But at the end, he comes back to Nier. It's like, oh, sorry, you still lose regardless of what you do. And in my opinion, I'm like, that's total BS. I think I'm on the side with he's a bad guy because, the mindset is you're killing killers, but you're still a killer yourself. So you can't justify that in any sort of way. That's just how it is. You're a killer yourself, and that's just not okay. But when it comes down to the ending of the show and kind of how things were, I thought it was kind of anticlimactic, and it was kind of all over the place too, because he was like, no, I'm a god. I didn't do anything. It's not me. And then Nier was like, oh, look in the book. Everybody's name will be there but his. And I'm like, oh, fuck this. How did he know? How did he know? Seriously. So I don't know.
Yeah, but that, again, that shows you what kind of character Light is. Like the entire time, because we're getting his perspective most of the time, we think that he's actually a good guy. What he's doing is good. He's in the right. But in all reality, he's been in the wrong since episode 1. Like the entire time is in the wrong. Because as you said, yeah, he's killing bad guys, but end of the day, he's still on the same level as the killers. He is a killer. So everything he says about him being God, him being justice, is just his own point of view, his sadistic point of view, and therefore you can't get Death Note without Light dying. Basically. So like the way it ended, it was supposed to end. Now a lot of people always argue, about the ending itself. Like the second season was a lot weaker because in terms of you got the whole Nier and Mello situation, and even though the Nier and Mello situation was not as good as Light, that still is technically part of Light's team. Light loses the battle, but he wins the war. Like his successors are gonna finish it, and they were meant to finish from the start.
I think he meant L.
Yeah, L, yeah.
But L took the L regardless. I feel like
L took the L.
I don't feel like I got my point across where I don't think there's any real difference as opposed to who you're following in any given story, whether you're following the good guy or the bad guy. And obviously it is a lot more fun to follow the bad guy in a lot of senses, and that's one of the reasons that Death Note is actually really popular, is because obviously we're following the bad guy through the entire show. But at the same time, as I said earlier, to have a show that's essentially bad versus bad or good versus good is something that's at its heart the very definition of drama and interest for any type of storytelling. We know that Kira or Light is a bad guy. There's really no doubt that he is someone who isn't doing what he should be doing in terms of actual justice or something, but having him win and leaving the audience forced to reconcile the difference, like whether or not he is actually doing good or not, is more of a dynamic ending than having Nier come out of nowhere in the last 11 episodes of the show, or however many chapters in the manga, and just completely, like Defree said, completely wiped the floor with him almost after L literally took the L because he just wasn't smart enough. I don't know. I feel like changing that dynamic was the whole series leading up to, we know this guy is bad, but is he bad? Like, is he that much worse than everyone he's killing? And completely changing it to, no, he was just bad the whole time, and because he loses and because we set up this like whole dynamic, he's a bad guy, he was bad the whole time. But in the defense of how the show ended, I feel like Ryuk killing him, writing his name in the Death Note, was the best way that they could have ended it. Even if he had won, I kind of would like Ryuk to eventually, at least at the end, kill Light.
Well, he was going to kill him anyway. That was the arrangement that they had. But the thing is, too, is that the show really plays with you in the sense that it starts off with, oh, my intentions are I'm just going to kill all these guys. And then as the years progress, as time goes on, especially after he beats L in that second season, he's just killing people. He basically made the reporter chick, I forgot her name, be his follower. He played with her mind. He wound up basically leaving her for dead. He's just like, he's a completely different character after the time passes. And when he found himself in vulnerable positions, he kind of just changed up his whole mindset all the time. But Nier basically continually told him, he was like, no, you're not what you think you are. You're not a good guy. You're not anything that you think you are. And the only thing I really can say about the ending and the way things kind of ended, because I do agree, I like the Ryuk thing and all that. The only thing I can really say about that is I like the concept that Nier and Mello had to kind of come together, which is kind of something that they were opposed to doing in order to take down Light. Because what that does is that puts Light on a pedestal saying, he's the guy that beat your predecessor. How are you going to beat him? Oh, you team up and you beat. So like, that's the only thing I really like about that whole ending. Everything else was kind of like, man, I don't like how Light was portrayed. He was just completely just like, once again, he was just psychotic in that ending. And then the Delete guy. So Delete guy is awesome, by the way. That's all I got to say.
The Delete guy's an idiot, though. It makes you wonder what would have happened had he not existed. Like, had he had someone else doing his work for him and followed the rules, it would have been a different ending. The only thing I would want to add to this is, what is wrong with the criminals in our world? Because, like, I mean, I understand if you're doing crime for the first couple months, it's one thing, but, like, this show progresses over the course of a couple of years. By the time, like, a year or two passes, I would not want to be a criminal anymore. It's like, oh, there's this guy that can just kill you from nowhere. Yeah, I'm good. I'm just going to turn to my good side.
But there was also even a dynamic where they were afraid to commit crimes because they were like, oh, Kira will kill you. So that's part of it too, where it's like he was like, I'm gonna build this perfect kingdom and all these other things, when he really started getting full of himself, when he really started, because he did, that's the thing, is like I said, the show plays with you in the sense that it makes you think if he's a good guy or not, because the things he did were positive, but he just isn't a good person. That's what it is. Like, he did bring down crime and all these other different things, but he kind of just, and it mainly comes down to the second season, because in that second season he was full of himself.
I think that actually was an interesting dynamic that show played. Was obviously criminals just kind of come out of the darkness. There's a set of criminals that he basically wiped out, but because of that vacuum, people started filling that vacuum. And it's a classic story to like tell with like Batman or Superman or any type of superhero story, is once you kind of create a void by doing something, you bring out even worse people, which is kind of what was happening in that universe.
Dude let his dad die. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah.
He let everybody die, literally, just so he could keep being Kira.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a very good point, and one of the reasons that the ending does make sense is he completely changes during that time skip into being something far darker than he was at the beginning of the show. Anyway, guys, I think that's really just all of our thoughts on this. Make sure to tell us in the comment section below whether you really liked the ending or you didn't like the ending. Obviously, this is a very divisive. People have a lot of different ways of looking at it and how it should have gone. But thank you, guys. Thank you for being on this video with me right now.
No problem, fam.
Hey, it was a fun discussion. It's funny, like, you hit me up to do this discussion, and I'm literally rewatching Death Note for like the 20th time, like this week.
There you go. So obviously it is a really awesome series. No matter how you think of the ending, it's just the divisiveness, the dynamic of what's happening here and there, and it's just fun. You can go back and rewatch it and get a completely different view on it. So anyway, if you haven't necessarily subscribed to these guys yet, I honestly don't know why. They both have, like, honestly, they're awesome content. Their channels will be in the description below. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and definitely tell us what you think of the ending of Death Note. Anyway, bye guys.